Evening. Check out the bob. I'm fancy to change again. Do you know what? I was looking through some pictures on Facebook, just having a look at like what I wanted to do next with my hair, and the amount of times I've changed my hair is ridiculous. It's been red, it's been dark, it's been long, it's been short, it's been cut like in a proper like boy cut. I've had all sorts, all sorts. So tonight, I'm gonna. This is a continuation of the Sunday night training. I know it's a bit of a funny time depending on where you are in the world. I know if you're in the UK, it's like 6 o'clock, which is smack bang in the middle of dinner time, homework, putting children to bed, and all sorts. So lots of you have sent me messages saying you're going to catch up on replay, and that's fine, not a problem at all. I'm going to get straight in to the training for those of you that do catch up on replay, so that you can just dive into the good stuff. So on Sunday, you will know, or should know by now, that I did a training on happiness, because happy women for sure have way more success, way more profit, they're more productive because they're more inspired, they're more creative because they feel happier. And there's 20 things that I wanted to share with you that are my, what I call happiness hacks. And I shared 10 on Sunday, the first 10. And then I said this evening I'd be sharing the second 10 with you, and that's what I'm going to do now. So if you haven't already got your hands on the first 10, absolutely do that. If you just type in Michelle Stonhill, my full name, and go to my business page, so not my personal profile, but my business page, so you have to keep pages. Like it, turn your notifications on for the Sunday trainings, but also that's where you'll find Sundays if you're looking to catch up. So let's go. Number 11. In fact, I'm going to quickly whiz. No, I'm not. No, I'm not going to whiz through. Number 11. Don't allow your mindset to become an excuse or a chore. This is huge. Huge, because I hear mindset, the buzzword that is now mindset, being thrown around so much as an excuse, if we're really honest. Something that's become another thing to add to the to-do list, and another thing to blame when we don't do the things that we need to do to be successful. In my opinion, that's the way mindset has become. I'm not saying that mindset's not important. Mindset's totally important, but it's not the only thing that's important. And it's not about telling ourselves that because we've got a mindset issue, we can't do X, Y, Z, or because we've got a mindset issue, we're going to put things off, or we can't have the success we want because I've got a bad mindset, or, you know, that stuff is not okay. And so many people do it. So I can honestly say with my hand on my heart that for me, mindset has always been something that I've recognised I'll always be a work in progress, of course. I've recognised as important, but I've never allowed to become an excuse or a chore. And the way that I've kept this in check is by thinking about when I was employed. Any of you guys that have been employed at some point will know that it's a transition from employment to entrepreneurship. It's not just a transition in the way you spend your time, it's a transition in thinking. And that comes with the topic mindset, but also thinking about what would be acceptable when you worked for someone else. Because what a lot of people do when they become an entrepreneur is they don't apply the same discipline, habits and expectation that their boss would expect from them in a job. So, you know, if you've ever found yourself saying things like, you know, if I just had a better mindset, then I probably would have done that, or I didn't do it because I've got a bad mindset. Just imagine ringing a boss when you were employed, or maybe you are still employed, and saying, hi, I can't come in today. Really sorry, but I'm just not going to make it. I've got a really bad mindset. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? I know what every boss I've ever had would say to me. I wouldn't have a job for very long, because I've used that as a measuring stick for what's acceptable. So if I look at my to-do list and I don't want to do something, I'm not going to allow mindset to get into the way, because for me, that is me ringing in sick to me and saying it's mindset, and I can't accept that. If a boss wouldn't have accepted it in a job, I can't accept that for me in my future. But also, don't allow it to become a chore, as in, you know, it's not about getting up in the morning and having this checklist of things you need to do to say that you've now ticked off the mindset work that you've got to do, that you look at and feel overwhelmed by, or even think it's a chore or don't want to do it or dread doing it. If there's some things that are in your mindset routine that you don't love, or that you're a bit tired of doing, or that you found yourself looking at and thinking, oh, feeling obliged, and it's more of an obligation than a pleasure, then to me that doesn't work. Do you. Do what works for you, because one person says you should do gratitudes and setting your intentions and exercising every morning. It doesn't mean that that's right for you. Ultimately, it's about feeling happy, feeling good, so that you therefore feel creative, inspired, and have more success. And that's the aim of the game. Number 12, don't sweat the small things. Let them go. Do you know, it's funny, isn't it, that when you think about what's a problem and what's really a problem, we all have a lot of champagne problems, don't we? We all have a lot of first world problems. Can we really say that they're all problems? Sometimes things happen and they put things into perspective, and we realise all of the stupid shit we've been worrying about wasn't worth worrying about at all. But why does it have to mean that something bad or terrible has to happen for us to have that check up from the neck up and have a bit of perspective? Why does it take something tragic to happen to have that? And I think this is really key in the everyday things when we're getting stressed and worried, and just stopping and going, okay, let's put a bit of perspective on this. And you might want to, the way I do this is I write it down. Let's say you're in a position where you're not getting enough clients. You're not getting as many clients as you wanted, or you've not hit your goal yet. Let's say that's your problem right now. And you're like, I wanted 10 clients by now and I've only got 1. If you write down, I don't have enough clients, and commit that problem, that worry to paper, get it out of your head and onto paper, it gives you a little bit of distance from it. And actually, when you can look at those words on paper and compare it mentally to some of the things that could be wrong. People got life-threatening news today. People got end-of-life news today. People lost someone today. People lost their own life today. And when you look at that problem and go, okay, perspective tells me that I'm really blessed. I'm really blessed that the only problem I've got right now, really, the only thing worrying me right now, is that I need to find more clients for my business. You know, when you enter that problem as a third world problem and you give it a bit of perspective, you can then start, working on it, of course. But learn to let the little things go. Learn to see things as they are, not bigger than they are, not smaller than they are either, and de-dramatise things. I get that, you know, things worry us sometimes, but always make time to give ourselves some perspective. Number 13, take risks, and but take risks that stretch you, not break you, and use a risk assessment to do it. Life's too short to not take risks, first of all, but life's too short to take big risks that stop you from sleeping at night. Take risks that stretch you and challenge you, but don't take so big a risks that they make you miserable with worry. And do a risk assessment to establish what those things are. Because do you know what? The amount that we worry and stress about making decisions, really, again, on the grand scale of things, tend to be things that aren't that important. So, risks. A big risk that obviously comes up for me a lot, that I hear other people worrying about, is investing in themselves. Or being a coach, I hear this a lot, right? I hear people saying things like, oh, I don't know whether I can afford to get a coach, whether I can afford to be in that program, or I don't know whether the thing is, when you're about to make a big decision in business or life, there's a few questions that will really help you in making that. And the questions are, what's the best thing that can happen if I do this? So let's say it is that you're deciding whether to work with a coach right now, whether to go into a program right now. What's the best thing that can happen if I was to do this? The best thing that can happen is I spend this money on this and I learn everything I need to. My attitude, mindset, everything shifts for me with the right support and strategy. And I go on to actually achieve the goals that I've wanted to achieve for a while now and not been able to. It's the best thing that can happen. Best thing that could happen is financial freedom, time freedom, accomplishment. What's the worst thing that can happen? So then we get to the other side of the spectrum. What's the absolute worst? Well, the worst thing that can happen is nothing happens, and I spend the money on doing this and nothing happens at all. What can you live with and what can you not? See, I couldn't live with personally knowing that I could have done it and had the best outcome, but I was too scared to risk a little bit for that. And when you end up looking at the worst case and the best case, you can really make calculated risks, small risks for huge returns. But, you know, on the flip side of that, other things like don't worry too much about, you know, as in don't take things too seriously. I think that's what I'm trying to say, because, you know, agonizing over decisions like, oh, should I start that business? Should I go in this direction with that business? Should I leave my job yet? You know, don't take life too seriously, because you ain't getting out alive. The worst thing that can happen if you leave your job and decide to go all in on your business, what's the best thing that can happen? Best thing is that you absolutely go for it. Leaving the job frees you up time-wise and energetically. You smash it and you create the life you've always wanted. What's the worst thing that could happen? Worst thing that could happen is you don't make it, you can't cover your bills, and you have to get another job. So you'd be in the same position as before you started. You're still in a job. So the best thing that can happen is everything changes for you. The worst thing that can happen is you stay the same. So you might as well do it. This risk assessment serves me so much, and also just take the emotion out of it. Just be like, to hell with it. I've got one life. I ain't getting out of it alive. Let's not take things too seriously. Number 14, say yes to everything. Number 14 is the biggest thing I would say in this list. Say yes to life, say yes to adventure, say yes to things that scare you, because honestly, every time we say yes, we open up a new path for us, a new opportunity, something that is now possible because we said the word yes. I used to be a no person. I used to be a no person, and it changed for me in a really unlikely way. I was living in Arizona at the time, in America, and we had a UK predominantly based business. So all of the clients and people I was working with went to bed at like, hey Karen, and they went to bed at like 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon my time. So then I've got one for my evenings, and I never really had from 3 till the next morning off, like big chunks of time. And James and I were like really enjoying just chilling out, watching movies and doing things we hadn't done for a while, because we'd been in that early stage of business startup and it's tough. And we watched the Yes Man Jim Carrey film. If you haven't seen it, watch it. If you have seen it, let me know that you've seen it and you understand. Like, type in the chat box and let me know you've seen it, and you'll get what I mean by this already. Basically a film about saying yes, and how incredible life can become when we say yes more than we say no. We say no to a lot of stupid shit. I did. Like, I'd say no to things because I wanted to stay in and have an early night instead. Or I'd say no to things because I was tired. Or, you know, just pathetic excuses to say no, I just don't fancy it. And what I realised was, when I start saying yes, incredible things started to happen. And we turned this film off, and I was like, okay, that was the moment. I made a commitment. I'm going to say yes from now on. If it's not going to hurt me and it's not going to hurt someone else, then the answer is going to be yes, and it's going to open up a wealth of opportunity for me. And that's what I started to do. And the amazing people that I met, and the encounters that I had, and the opportunities I came across, just by saying yes to like the smallest of things. That very night when I switched the film off, James said to me, let's go get in the hot tub, because where we were living at the time, we had like a communal pool and hot tub. And it was really late, it was about 11. I was like, oh, and I'd washed my hair, and I was about to say, oh no, because I've just washed my hair. That was my excuse. I'm not going to go and have an incredible time in the hot tub with my husband making memories because I've washed my hair. Have you heard yourself? And I just stopped myself and was like, yes, okay. Put a bikini on, went outside, and we happened to meet this incredible woman who just happened to be in the hot tub with her nephew, who was about 10 years old, and he was the most amazing boy I've ever met in my life. Like, when we sat down, he went, hey, nice to meet you, and shook our hands. He was really confident. He's an old soul, really old soul. And I asked him what he wanted to do when he grew up, and he said, do you know, my biggest goal is to be happy. because I believe that if you're happy, you can achieve anything. And this guy's 10. He's 10. And I felt like there was just wisdom oozing out of him. I wouldn't have met him that night if it hadn't have been for saying yes. And I needed to hear that message. In that moment, I needed to hear that message. And it's funny that when we say yes to things, the things that we need show up. So start saying yes. It will have a profound effect on your business, but on you as an individual and your life. Number 15, be aware of your weaknesses. Be aware, but don't focus on them. Be aware, but play to your strengths. I'm a big believer that happiness and success is found in our strengths, not in working on our weaknesses. You know, from a very small age, we are taught to improve the things that we're not naturally good at. And even in business, I think, in the world of self-development, we're taught way too much to improve the things that we're not good at. And I actually think there's something pretty magical about strengthening our strengths and playing to our strengths and doing the things that do come naturally and the things we are good at, because that's when we're at our happiest. But they're the things that we can really excel in. Thanks, Jojo. I had it cut yesterday. They're the things that we can really excel in. So, and what really prompted me to write this one in particular was that I went through a phase two key phases in my life where I really felt like I was needing to change who I was to fit into the environment I was in, and it didn't feel nice at all. First time was when I was in when I was transitioning out of the corporate world and into the world of business for the first time, and I was working as an events and promotions manager in nightclubs. And it was my own, James and I, it was our business, and we had contracts with nightclubs. And it's a really cutthroat environment, and everybody was stabbing each other in the back, and everybody was screwing each other over to win contracts and earn more money than the next person. And for me, it just felt really icky. I didn't like it at all. And I've always been someone that cares more about people than I do about anything else. The relationships I've got, the people in my life, and how I treat them has always been the most important thing to me. And in that world, it wasn't valued as a value. It was last, really, on people's minds. What was more important was whether you were wearing designer clothes, who you were hanging out with, what bars you were seen in, and how much money you were earning. And I felt like it didn't fit. And someone said to me, for the umpteenth time, we'd got screwed over by one of our friends who we trusted, and they'd stole contracts from us. And this guy said to me, do you know, you just need to toughen up. Like, you guys are way too nice to be in business. And it stuck. And I remember thinking, maybe they're right. Maybe we're not cut out for this. Because if I've got to sacrifice like my morals and doing right by people to be successful in business, then I'm not sure I am cut out for it. Maybe he's right. But actually, that side of me that's really people focused serves me incredibly well as a coach. Playing to that strength and really wanting to see people win, and being in a business that I don't succeed if other people aren't succeeding, being in a business where my income is a reflection of how many people I've helped. That's totally up my street. And just choosing to play to that strength means that I can really excel in that area way more than I could if I was trying to mold and be somebody I'm not. And I think this happens a lot for everybody. I think we all get told that we're not suited to something, or thanks, Joe, we're not suited to something, or we need to be something else to fit in. Well, what about changing our surroundings and the things we do to fit us, rather than changing who we are to suit our surroundings? I think we live a much happier life when we choose to do that. Number 16, don't take life or business too seriously. None of us are getting out alive. That's what I've written down on number 16. And I touched on this, didn't I, a little bit higher up, but when I talked about taking risks. But it's kind of the same as what I touched on in terms of really a bit of perspective, a bit of like a check up from the neck up is due every now and then to just help us realise what's really important and what's serious and what's not serious at all. You know, as I mentioned on my Sunday night live, and again, I'm not going to go into detail, it's not my story to tell, but we, in the family, had a bit of bad news over the last week. And it was difficult news, but it makes you realise that some stuff is serious and some stuff isn't. And when it comes to your funnels not converting, or a client's badmouthed you, or I don't know, whatever else might be going on for you in your business right now, a competitor's been mean, or really, I know it might sting in the moment, I know it might hurt, but when we really think about it and we look around at the blessings and the things that we've got to be grateful for, in comparison, that's just really small fry, and it's really not that important. And if we just choose to go, do you know what? No one's died. I'm alive. I'm okay. The people I care about are okay. I've got a lot to be grateful for. Fuck it, let's not stress about it because we're not getting out alive. Number 17, store the compliments up here, or even write them down, and delete the hate. And I live by this because, and it honestly has served me so well. I have a book. Some of you will know about this book. I've talked about it before, and I've asked you to reach out to me if I've helped you in any way, even if it's really little. Might be one line that I said in a video that had an impact. I keep a book that I write down anybody that reaches out to me and tells me that I've helped them in some way, any clients that I work with, anything at all that helps me to remember the good things that I've done and the compliments I've received. And I keep a book about all of that stuff. But you know, if somebody comments on my Facebook being mean or saying something that hurts, then I delete it. I don't engage, I don't get into it, I delete it. And I move on. And I'm quick to delete those things and focus on the things that people have said that are really nice and the way I've impacted in a way that have helped other people. Because we are wired, you will already know this because you'd have experienced this, we are wired to remember the one thing that's been said that's bad, or dwell on the one thing that's been said that's bad and forget all of the compliments we've received. For example, my hair, obviously I've had it all cut, and Joe's just said it looks really lovely. And thank you, Joe, I really appreciate you saying that. 50 people could say that to me over the next 2 days, but if one person said, oh, I preferred your hair long, it doesn't really suit you short, I guarantee I would begin looking in the mirror going, does it not suit me short? Is it like, maybe they're right, maybe I haven't got the right shape for his face for it. That's what we do, isn't it? That is what we do. And in business we do it too, and it damages our confidence, it knocks our self-esteem, and it means that we shrink back a little bit if we're not careful. And the best way I've found to combat that, not eradicate it, because I'm human like you, it still hurts if someone's mean, but the best way is to be really quick to remove and delete the people that aren't so good. Oh, thanks, Sarah. And really focus on all of the compliments you receive. And make time to do that, guys. Honestly, make time to do that. Because I meet so many amazing women that have got brilliant businesses and so much to offer the world. And the reason they don't impact on the scale that they could is their own confidence in them. And actually, and their own belief that they have value to offer. And actually, when we make a habit of writing down all of the people's lives we've touched, all of the value that we've given and the way it's helped people, it really does help us to stay focused on continuing to do that and feel worthy of helping in a bigger way. Number 18, travel and be totally present when you do. I know not everybody loves travel as much as me, and you know, that's okay. It might not be your goal to travel as much as James and I like to travel, but I would definitely say have it as a goal to experience new places, but to be all there when you do. And the reason I say to be all there when you do is because for a long time I thought I wanted the laptop lifestyle that meant I could work from the beach, I could work by the pool. But the reality is, who wants to work on a beach? Who wants to lie by a beautiful pool working? Who wants to be travelling and glued to their phone or their laptop? Because I don't. And it didn't make me happy. I've done it. I've had the laptop lifestyle. I've travelled the world while I work. But there's a difference in saying I've travelled the world while I've worked, and I've done nothing but work while I travel the world. There's two very different spins on that. And I tell you this with a bit of a warning sign attached to it, because sometimes what we think we want isn't what we actually want. What I've realised is, yes, I want to travel the world, and I am very, very blessed in that the business I've created gives me the ability to do that. But over the last couple of years, it's been about travelling and putting down the business while I travel. My laptop comes with me, my phone comes with me. I might allocate an hour in the morning to answer clients' messages, but then what I'm saying is I'm present. Because what's the point in seeing the world if you're just going to be like this the whole time that you're doing it? That's just looking at your phone in new locations, looking at your laptop in new locations. I don't think anybody really wants that, do they? So create a business and a life that means you can see new places, experience new cultures, meet new people, and be all there. Because otherwise, it'll just be a blur. And I know, because I've visited some cool places, that it's just a blur. And I won't do it to myself anymore. If I plan 2 weeks out for a holiday or to travel somewhere, then I'm out for that time. So develop a business and a structure around that business that means you can do that and not feel guilty for it either. Number 19, be childlike and playful and fascinated. I love this one. There's a song, I would recommend having a listen. It always gets me in the mood to live life like there's no tomorrow, and think about a child in terms of like dancing like no one's watching, that sort of playful attitude to everything that you do, and come at life with fascination. And the song that reminds me of this particular point is Savage Garden, and it's called Animals, or Animal, or I think it's Animals, but it's I want to live. The lyrics are I want to live. I'm not going to sing. I want to live like animals. And it talks about running with the wind in your hair and the sand at your feet. And for me, this is what life's all about. It's about living. It moves me to emotion when I say this, because I'm so passionate about it. So passionate about living like free animals. You know, going for long walks and running and singing like, you like no one's listening. Hopefully they're not when I sing, but singing Let It All Go in the shower, dancing around like a crazy idiot, and just being free and approaching and making time to do that. Like, actually, for me, that's mindset. I know one of the previous points was don't let mindset become a chore, as in like your routines. And for me, that's incorporated into my mindset routine, is something playful and childlike, and that might be just dancing, just putting on some music and dancing, or it might be singing, like putting on some music and getting your hairbrush and belting it out in front of the mirror like you did when you were a kid. You must remember doing that. I'm sure we all did, ladies, and enjoying it and being able to do it for hours just because we enjoyed it. What else do you want to do, or did you used to love doing just because? And how much time do you make for it now? Because normally the answer is not so much. I think we're all guilty of that, but make a commitment to be more childlike, more playful in your approach to life, and fascinated by everything. When a child looks at something, anything, it's like they're seeing it for the first time, and they're really seeing it, and they're seeing the magnificence of it and the detail in it. And they're like that with people when they're listening to people and hearing something for the first time. And when we approach life like that, it's just a really, really wonderful thing. And last and not least, number 20, breathe. This is how I've worded number 20. Breathe in life like you're taking your last breath. Breathe in life like you're taking your last breath. And this is how I describe how I strive to live my life. Now, not always. I haven't always been like this at all, but now that's how I strive to live my life. Breathe in life like you're taking your last breath, because everything, you don't know when you will be. And I don't mean that in a morbid way. I'm not saying that to scare you at all. but I want to live a life where I have no regrets. And I can't remember whether it was Jojo on the call, Joe Ellis, who's been typing away, who's a great friend of mine and the mindset coach. She's the mindset coach in my program, and she coaches separately to that as well. She's incredible. I can't remember, it was you, I think it was you, Joe, that said to me once, I was wondering whether to do something. I tell you what it was, I was wondering whether I was in the Caribbean, I think it was, I was in the Caribbean, and I've got a trip to Bali booked that was meant to be cancelled because of a volcano. So we'd gone to the Caribbean instead, and then they came back and said that we could go on the trip to Bali. And I remember thinking, oh, should we go? And I think it was that, Joe. And I remember you saying to me, what would make the best chapter of a book? And that's your answer. Whatever would make the best chapter of a book. When you think about your life like that, like chapters, and you think when you're about to make a decision, what would make the best chapter? And if the answer is eating the cake or getting on the plane and going, or running down the street naked because someone dared you to, whatever it might be, whatever would make the best chapter, that's the thing that you choose, that's the decision that you make. Because ultimately, we just want to make our lives the best read, right? Like the best book, like a thrill, an intense thrill. I want to I think there's a quote and it says something like, I want to skid to the grave, like, wow, what a ride. I don't want to rock, I don't want to walk in or, oh, that was fun. I want to be worn out. And that's what I mean by breathing life like you're taking your last breath. Just live it till the absolute max. And when it comes to business, when you're doing that, because I know you're all here and in this group to learn how to be successful in business, but they're linked. All this stuff is linked. The happier you are in life, the more successful you are in business. The more you live your life like that, like an animal, free and playful and childlike, and incorporating all of the 20 things we've been through today and on Sunday, the more you do that, the more ability you have to create success fast, because you just feel alive and unstoppable. And I genuinely believe happiness has so much to do with that. So that's number 20. I hope you've enjoyed this and Sunday's video about happiness. I've really enjoyed delivering it to you. Really enjoyed it. And I'd love to hear from you. Let me know as you're implementing them, what difference is it making for you? And if you've already started implementing some of the ones from Sunday, comment below. Lots of love.